Hi, I'm Giancarlo.
And I'm Felicia.
And this is our review of
Attack!
The Darkness.
Eh.
Which is what I do every Saturday night when I stumble home drunk, trying to find my bed.
Now I'm gonna find the guy on the box that resembles the most Giancarlo. And that would be him.
You said I sleep with people that look like dogs.
Well, you must be a dog to know a dog.
That's right.
Takes one
I'm
to
a
know.
dog. In Attack the Darkness, players play as a fantasy adventuring party, dungeon crawling in either cooperative, player versus player, or all against the Game Master mode. In the box you'll find 600 player cards of two types, resource cards with the black backs and action cards with the white backs, 80 double-sided dungeon cards with monsters, traps, or items, 36 advancement cards when you level up, 80 double-sided monsters, wounds, condition tokens, 7 character sheets, 7 character tokens, and this rulebook.
Here's how to set up. Choose a character, take its character sheet, and for your first game, we suggest you use the sample character decks provided in the rulebook. Take those cards and shuffle them in 2 separate piles according to their types, and place them in front of you. Draw 3 from each pile. That'll be your hand for the round. Take the dungeon cards, remove the stairs card, and shuffle the rest and place them face down and near the center of the table. Choosing the first level of the sewers scenario for this review, recreate the map using the top dungeon cards from the deck. Don't forget to remove the cards mentioned in the scenario. To spawn monsters, you first need to determine the danger level. To do so, multiply the number of tiles in the dungeon by the number of players. Later on, you'll also add the danger level to danger points from any advancement cards kept by the players. The stronger you become, the more challenging the dungeons will be. Flip the top cards of the dungeons and place all monsters in a column until you've reached or surpassed the danger level. Any traps and items are discarded. Now, from the top to bottom, take the number of monster tokens and place them on the Attack the Darkness logo for the first dungeon card, numbered in the scenario and going clockwise if there's more than one of that type. Then do the same for the second dungeon tile and the second monster down the column. Determine your marching order, who goes first, second, third, etc., and we suggest you sit accordingly. You're now ready for adventure.
The game turns are neatly summarized in the back of the character sheet. There's the player phase and the monster phase, each with its own steps. In the player phase, you start by drawing up to your hand size, which is usually 3 resources and 3 action cards, unless you have an advancement card that says otherwise. Next is the action step. Here, players may make a maneuver, or move, for free based on their character's speed, or do actions by playing cards. To do an action, the player must discard their right resource cards until they meet the cost in the action card. The costs are all color-coded as well for easy reference. The main 3 are the primary colors, stamina in red, mana in blue, and focus in yellow. If a cost is a secondary color, either green, orange, or purple, it means it can use any combination of the primary colors used to make it. For example, the samurai class has costs in orange, which means you can use any combination of stamina or focus resources to attain the prerequisite number. You also need to check that the conditions are right for you to play cards. The type and extra rules will tell you when or what you need to do to play a card. As long as you have the resource to play actions, you can play as many as you want in a turn. At the end of the turn, the active player may discard any cards he doesn't want to and draw back up to his maximum hand size. If ever one of his deck runs out of cards to draw though, that player's character is fatigued. This means that the player will have to discard all cards in hand. His only options are movement and equipment use. The next time he would draw, he shuffles his discards, forming a deck, drawing his cards, and ending the fatigue. When a player's turn is finished, the next player in clockwise order does his turn until all players have had a turn.
Next phase is monster step. The way monsters do their action is described in their upper left corner. The right corner will have vital stats. The attack is the number of attacks they have. The types are broken down into 3 types: melee, reach, or range. Melee is all squares 1 away from the monster's position. Reach is all squares 2 away from it, and range is anywhere 2 away and beyond. Note that range does not have a limit. As long as they have line of sight, they can do a range attack. These distances also apply to player characters and their attack. Maneuver is the number of spaces they move, but what's important to note is type. If a monster is flying, it means it can move through characters, and they, vice versa. The fence shows how many times the monster will use its saves. Saves is the damage reduction from a type of attack. So a range attack on this monster reduced that damage by 2 times. Finally, the HP is the number of hits they can take before they die. The monsters range from lowly Cobalt to monsters which can have up to 3 cards. When all monsters have activated, we go back to player's turn, until all heroes have died and it's game over, or all monsters are slain, which would end the encounter. At the end of an encounter, players have 4 options to choose from. They are Revive an Ally, which will bring him back to a max of half health, Rest, which will make a player reshuffle his discard piles into his deck, or Explore and explore greedily. When you explore, the active player will flip the cleared dungeon cards until he gets an item or mystery. If he flipped all dungeon cards and didn't get anything besides monsters, he can explore greedily. Here he can continue searching by flipping the top card from the dungeon deck. However, all monsters revealed this way will be added to the next encounter at half danger point. Good news is the player can stop searching at any time should he have not found an item. Lastly, every second encounter they finish, the players each draw 3 advancement cards and get to choose one. These are special abilities that range from the usual suspects, like extra hit points, extra damage, etc.
Attack the Darkness. I'll start off by saying that I really enjoyed this game, and I'll get to that into a bit. Mechanic-wise, I wouldn't say it's innovative per se, but adding the deck construction element to a dungeon crawl is. And it is more of a deck construction rather than what the box says, deck builder. Sure, it's some elements of that, but they're not as prevalent as a real deck building game. That's not the only mistakes in this game, unfortunately. The Inquisitor, the Inquisitor, play on turn? Whose turn? And it wouldn't be so bad if it's just for spelling, but making the monster tokens double-sided with damage and condition counter? A big no-no. Really annoying finding the token of a monster when it's actually on your card used as a damage counter. The box has these finger grooves for easy pulling of the cards, except they go halfway deep. So we still can't get the rest of the cards from the box, except by flipping it, which would reveal another mistake, no picture in the back of it showing anything from the game. Well, luckily you have us. Components are half and half, and cards are good, tokens are not. Rulebook is okay. Let's get back to the part where I enjoyed this game. It's definitely the most customizable dungeon crawler I've played. From playing cooperatively, having one player act as a game master, controlling the monsters, and making them behave differently than what's written on the card, or through arena style having a mass player versus player. And not just the gameplay is customizable, but the way you build your deck is, making it so your character is unique. Something I really enjoyed. You're not playing Deathstroke the Destroyer with the same deck core abilities in every copy of the game. You're playing a champion that is either a heavy hitter, tank, or wound-taking charging berserker depending on what cards you build your deck with. And if you're not too keen on deck construction, the rulebook provides a good and adequate starter deck. The color-coded resource idea is great, where you can mesh the 2 primary colors used to pay for a secondary one. It works well with the idea that a samurai, for example, using either stamina or focus as a resource. Which brings me to the art and bare looks of some of the cards. The game lends itself to such diverse creation from one action to the next that the words themselves describe the action perfectly and really captures the feel of pen and paper RPG in that sense. And I love that experience being an old school role player. But I can see how that won't appeal to everyone. But the dungeon crawler theme was very well captured, from actions and game mechanics like exploring greedily. I personally prefer this dungeon crawl over many others in its aspect being an ex-role player, and replayability is great. My concern is with the retail price of $80 and you get no miniatures, no dungeon tiles, and you only get tons of cards and tokens, and it'll be looked as expensive compared to other games that are equivalently priced. But in a weird way, I'd rather go with this one than the more mainstream dungeon crawlers out there that are, for me anyways, a tired concept. Protean Games should really look at amending the little problems in this version, like price, spelling mistakes, and components quality, and come up with a second edition. Either charge a little more and significantly increase component quality, or lessen the price, keep it bare minimum with the intention that the game should be played as such. I say this because I seriously think that it's got some potential to kick some ass. In the meantime, if you have the money, check this one out. You might be surprised. Just be warned, it's not for everyone. Attack the Darkness, as is, gets 7 out of 10.